Good morning, good morning. Today we're going to be talking about blood types. Please keep in mind I am not a, what do they call it? Hemoglobin collector. That's not what they call it. I'm not a phlebotomist, is that what they call it? But yes, I'm not a medical professional. I'm not a scientist. I'm not anything like that. This is all off the top of my head. I have not taken notes on this, so if I get it wrong, you cannot blame me because I'm just a silly little girl who writes movies and reads tarot cards and studies astrology. But I do find blood types fascinating and to sort of riff about it. So I am an O negative. Uh, as you know, there are positive and negative blood types, and O negative is very rare. I have to, like, this is something I'm putting off. I need to find someone in LA who has O negative so that if I lose blood, then I'll have a source of getting blood instead of like scrambling for blood, right? Because as an O, this is like the original blood type. As an O, I can give to everyone else, anyone, positive, negative, A, B, AB. I can give my blood to those types, but I cannot take that blood. So sometimes when you have an O negative person, an O negative woman, she has trouble in pregnancy because if her baby is a different blood type, if her baby is, say, an A positive and I'm an O negative, then the body can reject that baby. I've never personally had miscarriages, thank God, but that's why it's essential for women to um, find out, they're pregnant early on so that you can treat that sort of thing. It's easily treatable. It's just if you if you're one of those people who are like, I didn't know I was pregnant, and you go to the bathroom one day and like a baby pops out, then that's what I'm talking about. It can really your body can reject it. Your body can miscarry that. But I really like my O negative. Hi there. I really like my O blood type because I'm the OG, right? I'm the original. And as I conceptualize blood types, um, I again, I'm not a historian. I'm not a scientist, so this is sort of a loose interpretation. But the O's were the original, so uh, Africans, Aboriginal people, indigenous people, those like early tribal people, right? So I base my diet a lot on the O blood type, and when we think about humans in early humanity, like the original humans, we think about hunters and gatherers, right? We think about these really simple lifestyles. So I've noticed in my personal diet that paleo is really best for me, a paleo kind of diet. I grew up in a state that has a lot of dairy cows. So we had Brahms. I miss Brahms. But when I moved out to California, I noticed just how much they put dairy in everything back home and how it wasn't good for me. I lost like, I don't know, 20 pounds in 3 months whenever I came out here just from like cultural differences in food. But one of the things out here is they don't use a whole lot of dairy, at least as not as much as back home. What do I mean by that? So, one small example is El Pollo Loco. They have the Crazy Chicken. It's like a Taco Bueno, Taco Bell type of place. And they have these quesadillas that instead of putting tons and tons of cheese in like your chicken quesadilla, they fill it with avocados. They fill it with cabbage. I know cabbage sounds weird, but it's yummy. I love it. Oh, it's so good. And they like rotisserie chicken style. It's amazing. I wish you guys could experience it wherever you are. Um, but that's just one example, right? So I didn't eat a lot of cheese, and now my body, now that I haven't had a steady diet of cheese, and it's not to say I never eat dairy, I never eat cheese, but like removing so much of it from my diet, like I've noticed a difference in my body. I've noticed a difference in how I feel. There is a book called Eat Right for Your Type. I don't recommend following it like to the T, but if you study blood types, you can kind of get an idea about what your body can digest and what it can't. I also want to say that um, I am sort of I'm pescatarian throughout the week, and then on the weekends I have sort of cheat weekends, right, where I eat whatever I want. But I'm elevating to a place where even the cheats are a little painful. So, like chickens, beef, pork, that can be kind of heavy on my stomach. So, I try to do mostly plant based. But I'm finding that the other meats are heavy on my stomach, so I might just go pescatarian. I never thought that I would say that, but that's just how my body is adapting. But I think I really identify with pescatarian because fish is a light meat. It's filling, but it still doesn't weigh you down like the land animals. But it also has that um, hunter quality to it, right? So when we talk about the OGs, the hunter gatherers, the O blood types, eating fish appeals to that sort of original man, original woman, where we had to go out and hunt, we had to go out and fish, right? And if you fish, it's not a threat. It's not like you're gonna be like squashed by a wild boar or anything that you would try to kill. Um, but it still satisfies that protein. And the O blood types, the original people, they did not have cheeses. They did not have dairy. So how did that evolve? This is where I realized that I did not, like I learned this in a way that I didn't quite get all the information, because it was my understanding that it went O, A, B, and then AB. But as I was looking at different races and what their blood types are, because not in like a eugenics, like one race is better than the other, but in a way that we could get a full scope of history, just as people evolved, right? And it's not to say that like other races are more evolved than the others. It's just as we incorporated this stuff into our diet, this is what we have, right? So the O blood type is hunter gatherer, and then we move into the A blood type, and this is where I got it wrong. I thought it was like A's were more plant based. So this is when we started learning how to maintain our own agriculture. So original man, we had to fight and gather for everything we had, and we just had to rely on luck, right? But as civilization evolved, we moved into a space where we understood how to take a seed from a tree and plant it in the ground and nurture it and help it grow so that we had our own fruit, right? So this is sort of us learning how to invest in our nutrition and our food source so that we'll always have that, right? So that's why I'm kind of like in the mindset of we should not be paying for food anymore because like we know how to grow it. We know how to like get it back tenfold. Like it's everywhere. Anyway, um so um uh so then we moved into um plant-based agriculture where we were growing our own corn, where we were growing our own um peas, all of that stuff. But we still had to hunt, right? And then we move into the B blood types where we uh, started raising our own domestic animals, right? Domesticated animals. So that's when we learned that we could take a pig and keep it in a pen and have that source of um, have that food source for us that multiplies, right? So with say a cow, I guess a pig you can't really do this, but with a cow you can drink the milk, right? With a goat you can drink the milk, so you can keep 5 goats on your property, have milk, and to make cheese, right? So the B blood types, the AB blood types, and again, I think I might be a little wrong about that, so you might want to research that if this interests you. All I know is the O, right? All I really know is the O. But after we started domesticating our animals, keeping them as farm sources, then we discovered cheese. We discovered that we could take milk from a goat, milk from a cow, and we could turn it into cheese. We could turn it into other dairy products, whey, all sorts of things, right? Ice cream. So if you have something other than O, AB, for example, so you've incorporated both a plant-based agriculture system and a dairy-based agriculture system. You've integrated the two. If you have anything other than O, then you're more likely to be able to process those foods. You're less likely to be lactose intolerant, and I believe more likely to be a vegetarian. I found it hard to go meatless in the past, but now, like I said, I'm sort of transitioning away from that. And it could just be factory farming. I am not anti-meat by any means. My uncle had a farm growing up, and he raised deer, he raised all sorts of animals, and it was a very sacred thing, circle of life. He took care of those animals, and then we were able to have that food source. And it was like a big sense of pride for him. So not anti-meat, but anti-factory farming. I think there are other ways we can get these sources. We don't need to eat meat in all of our diets. We don't need to eat meat with every single meal. It's not necessary. But I have found that they'll tell you, like, don't eat red meat, don't eat red meat. I found that red meat gives me a lot of energy. And for instance, when I still lived in Oklahoma, I gave up red meat. I only ate poultry at the time, chicken and turkey, because I wanted to sort of transition into a healthier, like, meat-eating lifestyle, right? And this was just red meat. This was not, like, meat altogether. But I gave it up for maybe a month or two, and I was so, like, sluggish, didn't want to do anything, just like, I don't know why. I'm so, like, blah. And then I bit into a burger, and it was like, back to life. But I think with red meat, it appeals to that hunter side of me, because red meat in moderation, red meat every once in a while, reminds my ancestral DNA that this was a gift to us, right? Because you could use a cow for so many things. You could use it for a hamburger for meat, right? But you could also use it for leather. You could use it for, squeeze some milk out of it before you take the meat. But it had so many uses back in the day. But if you think about domesticated animals like chickens, they take chickens and they just like fatten them up, and to the point where they can't even walk, and they're just sitting in these coops, and it's like that doesn't appeal to my my sort of original instinct, because there's no like game in that, there's no fun in that, there's no hunting in that, right? It's like it's just like a fat butterball chicken just laying there. There's no like survival aspect to it, right? I've also found that it works with exercise too. People who are more inclined to yoga, I think, are more of the A-B types. But as an O, I feel like I really need cardio, and it's not just to lose weight, to be thin, or anything like that. But cardio for me is really important for my mental state, because I can be like pretty neurotic and like and so if I get my heart rate up, then that sort of flatlines me. And things like yoga are just too boring for me. They're too slow. I need something like fast pace and to really like work out that aggression. I have Mars in the first house. But also I think O does play a part of it. One more thing I want to say about O blood types is it just slipped. And again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a medical professional. Do your own research. This is just me spreading the word. But I was reading a study that indicated that O blood types have a better chance at combating the coronavirus than other blood types, which I found really interesting. Either they are less likely to contract coronavirus, or their antibodies are more likely to fight it off, something like that. But it gave me like reassurance that it's not like I'm safe, right? It's not that like I can't get it, but it's like, wow, like healthy. Like I can like fight off diseases, which you wouldn't think necessarily, because like I said, there was an evolution to our food systems and what we adapted to. But maybe in that there were some mutations as well. Like I said, it's not a eugenics thing to make other people better, but I do take comfort in the fact that I have a blood type advantage here, right? And blood is really interesting. In Africa, a lot of blood types are, they have this, they adapted their blood to fight malaria. So there's something in their blood that prevents them from getting malaria whenever you live in Africa, right? So some African Americans have taken that genetic adaptation, and coming over here, it has sort of a detrimental effect, and there's sickle cell. I don't know if I don't know how far along sickle cell is, like if it's still a big problem. It was like T-Boz from TLC. She raised awareness to it like years ago. I'm aging myself. Crazy, sexy, cool times. How long was that? I don't know. Like 90s. That was a long time ago. I am 35 going on 36, so that's my past. But yes, blood is a really interesting thing. And there's a whole other world on blood studies as it relates to starseeds, as it relates to angelic DNA, extraterrestrial DNA, karmic DNA, all of that. Too long, don't read. I can't get into all of that, but I believe O's, specifically O negatives, have this really mystical alien DNA. Speaking of alien DNA, I'm working on a story. I have like a lot of stories, right? But one of the stories is a new blood type on Earth. Blood X, blood type X. It's adapted from my mom's idea. She's brilliant. I appreciate her idea, but I feel like I haven't proved it. Who will write the story first? Who will write it first? She's a writer too, so it's like one of us will write it. If she doesn't get there, I'll get there. But yeah, blood type X. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me, and I can tell you more about it. Anyway, I will get off here, and it was a pleasure. Glad I could share that with you, and I will see you next time. Bye.